Good afternoon, everyone. This is Zach, and I got my wife here, Dr. Sabrina Solt,
Hey,
and
everyone.
we are going to talk about gut health.
Yes, gut health and the carnivore diet. A lot of people come into the carnivore diet, I was one of them, with severe gut issues. And the carnivore diet can actually be used as a strategic elimination and healing diet in order to heal up gut dysfunction. So first of all, how do you know if you have gut issues? Super easy. You probably have pain in your abdomen to some degree, maybe. Gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, any of those things are outside normal, which means you have gut issues.
Yeah, I would say the gas is a big one for a lot of people that eat a lot of plants, and they think that that's normal. It's not. It's pretty cool. I was thinking about it this morning.
Yeah, farts and skid marks are for plant eaters.
Yeah, I was like, I never fart anymore. I don't even remember what it was like, and I feel like it was like a huge part of like my day,
Yeah.
But now it's gone. I know that's weird, but it's just true. Like you just don't fart. On carnivore.
So if you are dealing with any of those, carnivore can be a really useful diet for you because it ultimately acts as a really great elimination diet. So you go to any functional medicine provider, naturopathic doctor, anyone who does that. If you have gut issues, what they usually do is some sort of food intolerance test, followed by an elimination diet of the things you are intolerant to, followed by gut healing supplements usually. Now, where we can kind of like cut that in half and you can do this on your own without having to go pay for testing or pay a provider is that you eliminate all things that can be damaging to you, which is, again, bringing you to the carnivore diet and only eating animal-based products. Caveat to that is dairy. I have a post on dairy on my Instagram. If you scroll down through my page, you'll be able to find it, but it talks about why people are intolerant to dairy. And it can be it's usually due to the protein structures and how the protein structures change depending on how that dairy is prepared. So the protein structure varies whether it's a hard cheese, a soft cheese, a whey isolate, milk by itself, yogurt, sour cream, cottage cheese. So some people can tolerate some people can tolerate none, some people can only do A2. There's nuance to it, so figure out if it works for you. But ultimately, if you're looking at your poop, this is the best way to tell if you have no gut issues, is you look up something called the Bristol stool chart. We can link it in the description below, BRISTOL stool chart. If your poop comes out looking like a number 3 or a number 4 on an almost daily basis, again, with carnivore, that can sometimes shift, you're good to go. Especially if you have no gas, no bloating, no constipation or diarrhea that comes along with that. Okay, so what damages the gut in the first place? This is what most people don't really understand. They're like, well, how did I get here, right? Like, I don't know what damaged my gut. Well, it can be damaged by you eating a bunch of things that you're intolerant to over many years. Oftentimes, people don't even realize what they're actually intolerant to until they remove it from the diet and then retest.
Yeah, I mean, it was almonds. It was weird. So before I met her, I didn't know anything about gluten-free, right? So I did fine. I thought I did fine with gluten, and then she's, so naturopathic doctors are like anti-gluten. So I stopped eating gluten, right? And when you stop eating gluten, you pick up things that are gluten-free. And what do they add to gluten-free? They add almonds. So I literally got Crohn's disease because she wanted me to not eat gluten anymore.
We learned from that very well.
Yeah,
but that he brings up a good point about gluten. So people think that this whole go gluten-free is a total craze, and that you only need to be gluten-free if you have celiac disease. Well, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of gluten intolerance, from pure celiac disease, which means you're going to have a straight autoimmune reaction if you eat any amount of gluten, small, medium, or large, to the people who have what we call non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which means you can experience things like joint pain, brain fog, digestive issues if you consume anything like gluten, which is what I used to deal with before I removed that from my diet. But the thing that a lot of people don't know is that every time you eat gluten, it actually releases a molecule in your body called zonulin. And zonulin basically enhances intestinal permeability. It basically pokes holes in your gut lining, leading to leaky gut, which generally leads to gut dysfunction. Most of the time, unless you have an actual diagnosed intestinal disorder like Crohn's or colitis or a celiac disease, for example, you have some degree of irritable bowel syndrome, which is usually linked to some degree of leaky gut. So your leaky gut, like I said, it can be done by food intolerances that you're just eating over time, continuing to damage you. It can be damaged by multiple rounds of antibiotic use and how it basically just kills off all of your gut microbiome. And it can also be damaged by eating foods that have been sprayed with glyphosate. So glyphosate is Roundup. It's a really prominent antibiotic that they use in pretty much all crops these days. So a lot of plant eaters, people who eat a lot of packaged foods, a lot of conventional stuff, can be exposed to high levels of glyphosate.
Yeah, there's evidence that glyphosate's in all vegetables, even if
it has been linked to a number of different cancers in addition to gut permeability.
Yeah.
Now, we're never trying to be alarmist, right? Like if all that is available to you or that is affordable to you is conventional stuff, just do the best you can, right? Like we're not sitting here saying that everything you have to have should be organic. Everything that you have to have should have like no pesticide residues. It's fine. We do the best with what we can.
But if you only eat meat, that's not a problem.
Exactly what I was getting to. If you are really only consuming meat, here's the thing, that digestive process and that has already gone through somebody else's or something else's detox pathways. Mm-hmm. So the amount, at least that I've seen, I could probably see if I can find a study to link to this, like amount of glyphosate or something.
Sean Baker just did a video this morning about it.
Sean Baker has information on this. We can link to his thing. But it's so small compared to what you would get eating plants. So we really, as far as removing that from your system. And here's the thing. In my practice, I run these tests. They're called total tox burden tests, and they are urine tests that test for mycotoxins, which are mold, environmental toxins like glyphosate, and of course heavy metals. And it's done as a urine test. And what this shows me is that yes, our body is always in a constant state of eliminating this stuff from our system because that's how we detect it on a test. So know that if you are treating your body in a good way, you are still going to be detoxing, right? What you can then pursue if you want to work with a provider who's skilled at this is, well, how do I make this process go faster to get this stuff out of my system in a more expedited way so I can feel better, faster? Yeah. But you don't have to.
Yeah, the only foods you can eat that don't require detox is meat. If you eat any plant-based anything, there's a form of detox that needs to happen for your body to dispose of the chemicals and the pesticides. So this is why we push carnivore, right? Or as close to carnivore as possible. There's some people that just can't do 100% carnivore, and we get that. Like that's it's not for everyone, but the closer you get, the better off you are.
Yeah. So again, do what you can. But the reason the carnivore is really great, like I was saying, it's easy on your gut to digest. Meat digests super, super easily because the first thing it does is it breaks apart into almost liquid in your stomach. And that liquid gets really, really well absorbed into your small intestine, right? This is why people who've been doing carnivore for a while, we never get bloated. There's no like water being pulled into our system or anything like that. It's just simply the hydrochloric acid in our stomach, cleaving those protein bonds and turning it into like a very liquefied mush. If you've ever seen, like, I'm sure you can search on the YouTube for videos of people pouring hydrochloric acid over meat, you will see it dissolves it. It's liquid, right? So this idea that you have, meat rotting and putrefying in your intestines is complete BS because there's no way that it can make it through the pH of your stomach in any measurable form.
However, people that have had vaccines or gut damage, or there's a couple other things, nutrient deficiencies, you could have low stomach acid. If you have low stomach acid, then...
But it's still not going to make it impossible to digest. You're just going to feel it sitting heavy in your stomach as it takes a little bit longer. Your body has these checks and balances where it's just not going to let that go through. But that's the other thing that I didn't mention that he brought up. It's the V word. If you received any of those as a child, it can cause gut dysfunction in and of itself. It just can.
Any of the 90-something doses of 16 different that you're supposed to receive as a child is ridiculous.
Yeah, I received all of mine as a child, of course, and I grew up to have multiple gut issues and skin issues.
I actually did. My parents slacked on that, but as soon as I got into the Army, they were like, every 5 seconds, they'll give you a new shot.
Oh, man. Okay, so you're doing the elimination diet. You're getting onto carnivore. Here's what's going to be a positive thing that's going to happen. Now, if you can tolerate butter, butter is one of the best foods for actually healing up the intestinal lining because the eating of butter produces a substance called butyrate. And butyrate is one of the best things that you can get to actually heal that like mucousy inner layer of your intestines that actually helps the food really go nicely through it and helps seal up those holes that were poked into your system through the intestinal permeability that you could have had. So we love doing butter. All types of meat, whatever sounds good to you. But I really do kind of like to point people in the direction of higher fat when you're healing up that intestine. Again, just so you can get that nice mucousy layer back.
I was just going to say, this is funny. This is not relative to the video, but our kids never leave us alone when we make a video and they're outside playing. I just want to point that out, that they're being really good. appreciate that.
And they're even laughing.
They're outside giggling and laughing, and it's hilarious. My son has the best laugh. Yeah, the best laugh you've ever heard. So anyway, sorry about that.
We're not going to jinx it. Anyway, that was great. Now, as far as what are the expectations on healing a person's gut? It takes time. And I'm going to tell you why it takes time. Have you ever had a cut that you picked at and you picked at the scab? You just didn't leave it alone?
I do that.
I am terrible at that. I am a picker.
I got one right now on my phone.
But so think about this, right? If you're trying to heal up that wound that is the inside of your intestines, the inside of your GI tract, but you're still having to eat every day, well, it's almost like you're picking at that scab. So
especially if you're throwing food at it that
it's not agreeing with, right?
Plant specifically.
So this is why the more strict you can be. I don't necessarily need you to do quote unquote intermittent fasting, but at least give yourself a 12-hour window where you're not eating, which is logical for most people, right? Like finish dinner by 7 p.m. Maybe you don't have breakfast till 7 a.m. Like it seems 12 hours is logical. You don't need to necessarily be eating more than that, but you still have to give your intestinal lining enough of a break that it can generate that healing cycle. So again, don't pick at the scab. And you can think about that analogy anytime you want to cheat during these precarious times when you are actually trying to get the gut healing going. And again, know that it does take time, right? Just in general, in the body, one healing cycle takes a minimum of 6 to 12 weeks. So that being said, if you can go initially 3 months and you can be doing great, and if you're not fully healed by then, great. You got through one healing cycle, you must keep going. It took me at least 6 months to heal up most of my gut issues. And even now, if I eat too much dairy, like I think 2 weeks ago, I had goat cheese with my breakfast 3 days in a row. It messed up my gut for 2 days until I was like able to stop it. So again, it'll also come down to what is going to work for your body. And you can only really figure this out by testing. And when I say testing, I don't actually mean going and getting a test done unless that's something you want to do. Yeah. But I mean giving yourself a break enough away from those triggering foods and then adding it back in and seeing what happens.
And the other thing is it's very simple, but meat heals. Meat heals the gut. If you switch to, the only thing you can eat that does not bother or have a negative impact is meat. It's a beautiful thing. So if you ever run into those issues, it's easy just to do 3 days, strict carnivore, and then, see how you feel afterwards.
Yeah, we have a trip coming up in February, and it's going to be really interesting to see how, because we're going somewhere international type of cuisine that we're not normally exposed to. We're ultimately going to, try to stay on carnivore as much as possible, simply because I want to have the energy to keep up with all the activities that we have planned while we're there. Because we're going without the kids, and I want to really take advantage of this. So
that'd be weird too, going on a trip and not I don't drink coffee anymore. So used to
coffee. We're not drinking coffee, no alcohol. It's just we're doing sightseeing. We're doing like the touristy thing. Yeah. Okay. So, and again, the other thing to pay attention to is when you're actually going through the healing process of this is how long have you been sick for in the first place? In naturopathic medical school, we were taught to allow at least 1 month of healing for every year that you were sick. So if you're coming into this and you've been sick for 30 years, 50 years, it might take you a year or two to really get to a place where you're happy. But the time's going to pass anyway. Would you rather spend that time making yourself worse or on a path to actually make yourself better?
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to bring up about the our oyster supplement.
Oh yes, if you're watching this and you tried to order one of our oyster booms, we are getting them back in stock. We were completely overwhelmed.
We sold. I think we
sold out in a couple hours. Yeah. We sold a bunch, and
Steak and Butter Gal posted a video of us, and we actually have 90 something people on the wait list already from.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like I said, that product, we sourced this from Ireland, so it's like we can't just expedite a shipment. We have to it's a process to do that, because the way that we communicate, our mornings are there at the end of the day. Yeah. So it's coming though. So hopefully early next week it should be here. We have a tracking number. Sometimes it gets held at customs, but it is coming, and I'm so excited for it to be in your hands. Okay, so I'm sure there's stuff that I missed on the gut stuff simply because I don't know your individual situation or what you might have going on. But ultimately, when it comes to choosing what to eat, because this is usually what people ask, well, what should I eat? What do I need to eat? Eat what you enjoy, eat what's affordable, eat what's available, eat what's sustainable. If you're fine with just doing, ground beef and eggs on a daily basis, go for it. If you want to eat a ribeye every day, go for it. Whatever works for you. And keep going with it until it doesn't work anymore, then switch it up.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like what I've eaten or how I've eaten has changed so much as time has gone on. I think it's just like your body telling you. You know, when I first started carnivore, all I wanted was a ribeye every day at noon, and that's all I would eat. You know, and after a while, my body was like, "Nope, stop putting butter on it. You can't have butter. As soon as you have butter, I would have issues." You know, and now I'm eating eggs and ground beef and stuff that I wasn't eating in the beginning. So I mean, just listen to your body. Don't think that there's a right or wrong way to do things. People always message me and they ask, you know, hey, what should I be doing? What should I be doing if I'm working out? What should I be doing? I tell them, you know, listen to your body and focus on what feels good, because what feels good for me or what works for me is not necessarily going to work for her. Like,
yeah, exactly. And if you've ever, like, if you've watched some of our videos where we compare and contrast what we each do, we are the most different carnivores you've ever seen, even though we live in the same house.
Right.
So, and again, nobody can tell you what's going to work for you. And this is why I kind of get like frustrated when I see people's comments online about, I've been doing this and I've been strict and I've been blah, blah, blah. And they've been following the most well-intentioned advice from carnivore influencers that are telling them you must eat this way. And it's not working for them because their needs are probably different based on how sick they were, what their micronutrient status is, what their stress levels are, what their hormone status is, if they have any degree of insulin resistance, if they have any degree of like any sort of gut dysfunction, of course. Ultimately, again, it's all really, really different. So experimentation is the best way to figure it out for you. The second best way is get objective eyes on it. So work with a coach, work with a doctor, work with somebody else who gets it, who can actually just take a look at what you're doing completely objectively. We're our own worst doctors, right? We can't see ourselves, you know, completely without any sort of judgments, without any sort of preconceived notions, and just say, yeah, I see what's happening here. I see based on your symptoms what might be going on. Maybe this is a new thing that we plug and play, or maybe we just do a slight tweak here. And that could just be the thing that you need to get you back on track and feeling your best.
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
Cool. I hope this was helpful. Share it with your friends. If you guys need to, you know, drop any comments, we'll try our best to answer as many questions as possible. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Dr. Solt, at Carnivorous Z, and we will see you in our next video.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.